Welcome back to another episode of Easy Dubs podcast. We have a special episode today. This is kind of something new that we're going into. Normally it's one of our cappers through our DubClub ecosystem, but today we kind of have a friend of a friend that's coming on, but he's a special guy, Tanner Flynn, who has, I don't know, he's been in the news recently, with ESPN covering him and everything. It feels like we're kind of the small dog covering you now, but welcome on, Tanner. We're excited to kind of talk some parlays, some futures, and figure out what goes through that crazy brain and how you figure these things out.
I appreciate that. And yeah, no, definitely looking forward to talking with you guys. Hopefully one day I am in the DubClub ecosystem. If I've seen some of you guys' subscriber counts, so I know the guys that are on there are getting well taken care of. But it's been a crazy last couple of weeks between ESPN, Fanduel, BR betting, all doing interviews with me. So it's been my 24 hours of fame is right now. So hopping on as many podcasts, news, whatever, as I possibly can. I'm excited to talk with everybody today.
You're kind of a movie star these days. I don't know. In our world, it seems like you're right at the top. You're the king right now. You're the king right now. Everybody's just trying to figure out how you're figuring out these $8 bets, turning them into 20 grand. I have to say, I've never been able to do that myself, but I'm looking forward to figuring it out.
If I knew how to do it every time, I think we would all be pretty set up. I got my grandma asking me, hey, next time you make one of these, I got all my friends, random girls I haven't talked to since high school, like, oh, you got to send me the next one. I'm like, I don't know when the next one's going to be. Hopefully it's the next one I place, but I can't be too consistent. But happy to talk today about how I've managed to pull off the last two. My first one that happened, I went way more, I think, viral personally, whereas like my own tweets and stuff, whereas this one caught more national coverage and got pushed out kind of that way through like ESPN, like I said, BR betting.
Tanner, so the folks at home who aren't as familiar with your story, let's do a little storytelling now. Walk us through step by step the past two monster future parlays and how they came to be and how lightning struck twice and just get everybody at home up to speed.
Yeah. So I've hit two massive, I would say pretty massive, nothing like I would say super life changing, but huge bets on low wagers like that have paid out a ton. So 2 years ago, I guess at this point, about a year and a half ago, I cashed an $8 to win about $21,000 future bet. That one it ended with the Buccaneers winning it. But I had also in that same parlay the Dodgers, the Lakers, the bubble Lakers, the Lightning, and one trend that you guys will learn. For some reason, I throw in some random huge ass UFC favorite in there as well. So for the first ticket, I had Usman. So that cashed last February when the Bucks won the Super Bowl. That was the last leg of it. And then most recently, I had a $25 to win 34 grand that cashed last Sunday when the Avalanche closed out the Steelers in the Stanley Cup. And that one included Georgia to start the leg off. And then I did Israel Adesanya over Robert Whitaker, the Rams, and then Golden State Warriors and the Avalanche. So two pretty similar bets. I picked four major champions, one random UFC fighter that I think is going to kick his ass pretty confidently. And then I sit on these parlays. I think both took 7 months or 8 months to cash. So they are a long-term investment strategies. Like I said, they're not me flipping daily options and trying to, get a swing on the market, but me finding something I like that I can enjoy, for a few months. And we were talking before the show about who my favorite teams are, the Bears, Pacers, Cubbies. Well, I don't have any teams to root on in the playoffs right now. So it's good having these bets, and that way I can grab on like a good team and root for them, because I want to see us say especially when it came down to the Warriors and Avalanche, I was the biggest diehard fans of those teams, and the Buccaneers when it came down to them. It's just makes it fun, and it's like I said, low risk, real high reward. Both of them take 6-7 months to play, so I have to look at what this is going to look like over the next couple months. But I've been lucky enough that both have been able to cash for me.
Why $8 and then $24, if you don't mind.
So
I mean, clearly you got a lot more comfortable the second rep,
yeah,
tripling up your principal at stake.
yeah.
But is there any magic in those
The
numbers?
first one there was. The first one there was. So I would say my normal unit sizes are usually like 100 to 250. Like usually that's my standard units when I'm betting like straight games. So, I try to keep a unit system. I don't like to bet a ton. So a quarter unit, something like that. That's fine with me. I'm fine with placing something like that for something that's such high odds. So that's why I'm not ever throwing like hundreds of dollars or thousands on these things. Like at the end of the day, they're like, 2,000 to 1 odds. So it's like, I'd be stupid within like harm my own bankroll if I did larger units on these. But the funny story about the $8 one. So I had at the time grew up in Indiana, like I said. Sports betting's legal in Indiana. Well, at the time I was living in Tampa. So I had went home for the 4th of July and put some money in my account, obviously, bet on, hot dog eating contests, whatnot. But it was like the night before I flew back to Florida, and I was like, shit, I think it was like $58. I think I had $58 in my account. So I was like, I'm not going to be able to access this money. I can't bet with it. I'm not going to withdraw $58 and put it back in my bank. Let's put it on something that I can watch while I'm in Florida over the next 7 months. That's going to be enjoyable. And turns out that the 2 bets I placed, which was really wild, was the first one I did 2 bets. The one that won, that was $8. And then I did a $50 one, which is the one I really wish cashed. The only difference between the two, I had the Rays instead of the Dodgers. And if you remember that year, that was when the Rays lost 4-2, pulled the pitcher, and that one would have cashed me like $100,000. So if the Rays would have won that series over the Dodgers, that's the outcome. That series, I was really hoping. I'm just happy the bet won, but I do know having so close to having the Rays in there as well, that made it more fun watching the World Series, cheering for the underdog there. But we pulled the pitcher when we didn't need to, and kind of cost me in the long run. But that's kind of the magic number behind like the first bets, and then the 25 was just, like I said, like a quarter unit, nothing too crazy, something for me to have fun with, and turned out to be a whole lot of fun.
I gotta know. This is one of these things that I don't understand, because it's like, how are you figuring these things out 7-8 months in advance? But then, like you said earlier, you're throwing in these kind of like low risk UFC fights out of nowhere. What is the point in you tossing in the Adesanya and the Usman bets when is it really adding that much value to kind of your parlay, or is it just kind of something fun because you're watching it anyway? Is that kind of where it goes?
I would say it's a little bit of both. Like when you get that high of units and you put a -200 in there, that jumps it by a couple $1,000s. So it does, like when the odds are that high and you throw like a -200, -300, it does increase by a lot of money. And then kind of like you said, I'm going to be watching it anyways. I did coordinate the Adesanya fight this year a little bit because I go to the Super Bowl like the last 3 years to watch with my dad and friends and stuff. So we go to Vegas for the Super Bowl every year. And Adesanya fought on Super Bowl weekend. So I was like, I'm going to be in Vegas. We're going to have the UFC fight Saturday, Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to get bang, bang. And then at that point, I had already won Georgia. So I was like, I could knock this down to 2 legs after the Super Bowl. So that's why I picked the Adesanya fight. The Usman one, if you look at the ticket on my Twitter, it said I placed the bet at 2:30 in the morning on a random Tuesday night. So you can imagine, I might have had some, things inside me that had my mind going everywhere. But I placed the first one about 2:30 on like July 7th, and it came out a winner. And then this one, I was just chilling on my buddy's couch, which is the same friend that kind of hooked everything up today, and placed it then.
Is there any analysis that goes into these bets? Is it value based? Are you actually like thinking about these things, or you just said you made it at 2:30 on a Tuesday, on a Tuesday night? Are you doing that? Like, is it just gut feeling? Because it's so impressive what you're able to do, but it doesn't seem like there's I don't know if is there background to it, or is it just that gut reaction?
I would say it's gut feeling. It's also, I do like, I bet a ton. Like I do have there's an opinion of why I'm picking every single team. So it's not like, I'm just ripping the phone open, clicking like 5 things. Like I've only placed, like, that's another question I get asked a lot. It's like, how many of these have you placed? Honestly, over the past like 2 years, I've placed maybe 5 of them. I have one I have placed right now that I did increase how much I put on it just because. And everyone wants me to give it to them, but like I would feel I can't like post this pick of like my next one because I got to get at least a leg in. If you followed me on Twitter, the one that I have that just took place as soon as Georgia won, the first of the 5 legs, I said one down. I tweeted out one down. Let the journey begin. So I tweeted that back in like January after Georgia, and then after every leg hit, I updated the tweet, quote tweeted it. But no, I definitely do have some like analysis. Like there's certain things that I look for. Like if you look at the ESPN article, I also talk about like. I also look for like motivation or if there's like a reason. Like for me, a thing that the reason I pick like the Lightning, for example, in the first ticket, the year before they had the best record in the NHL and got swept in the first round by like Columbus, I think 4-0. And what that made me think of was Virginia basketball, a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. First team to get knocked out by like a 16 seed, and they come back and win it the next year. Like just added motivation and wants, and they were also playing games with the salary cap, and we're lucky to get like Stamkos back at the end. So like, I don't know. There's been a few things that like I look into. I'd say my like best sports that I bet on just like on a regular basis. Like right now it's my off season. Like when it comes to baseball, that's not me. Like for me, it's college football, NFL, college basketball, NBA. Like those are my 4. And then also UFC. I just hit my biggest UFC parlay this weekend also. So like those are my main ones. And then we'll have just, some things included, but happy to talk about like what I think about, but like I really look at it from a talent perspective. Like, is there an extra reason? And like, what does the roster look like? Because if I got the Bucks at plus 1,500, because I placed it in July, like right after they got Tom Brady. But like, if you look at their roster from the year before and the pieces they added, like they have a legitimate, like stacked roster. Like you have to be able, I played the sport back in the day. Like you have to be able to look at a team, understand like who do they really have? Like what pieces, especially something like football, like you can't lack at any position really on the field. The Bucks, you can say they're DBs, like they're pretty young back there, but like they have one of the best front sevens. They have one of the best O-lines. Dominant wide receivers. You add Gronk, you get Brady, someone that's not going to turn the ball over like Jameis did. So like there's certain things that I look into and like, but I would say it's mostly identifying talent and understanding like, hey, who has the most skill on their team? And is there any motivation? Is there anything behind it? What's the road look like? Like I also like to pick teams that have an easier road to make it to the championship for hedging abilities. So like when I evaluated the West this year for like the Avalanche, like I thought the West was really, really weak. Like I thought, hey, who might they run into in the playoffs? Like the Vegas Knights, I wasn't too scared about them. Edmonton obviously has the Stars, but like there was just no like big threat to me like for this year, for example, for like the West for the Avalanche. Like I thought they had a pretty easy road, and I did predict them to face against the Lightning and stop the three-peat. So there's certain, there's a method to the madness, but like I said, it is definitely luck, but hitting it 2 times, I think it's a little bit of knowing what I'm looking for and then also getting lucky at the same time because any injury definitely derails. Steph goes out, some big player on the team goes out. I can't affect that. And that's over like a 7-8 month stretch. So a little bit of both, I'd say.
Tanner, one comment and one question. So comment is we talked to a ton of handicappers, obviously, and like just people who are awesome at betting. And there's a million different kinds of handicappers. There's people who read line movement, people who read trends, people who are fundamental investors and make their own lines, blah, blah, blah. This idea of like a long-term, almost like a storyline investor matched with like talent evaluator is super interesting, especially in the context of futures. And also like very unique. And at least in my gut, like there's something there, right? Like when you're watching SportsCenter after the Super Bowl goes off and you hear the storyline about the Rams and how, everything came together at the right time, or the Bucks last year in your case, blah, blah, blah. In my brain, at least, there seems like there's a opportunity for someone like yourself who can read the signs 7 months ahead of time to identify some value. So that's really cool. Question. Are you hedging as these legs go down? And if so, when does it start to make sense?
Yeah, so both parlays I have hedged at the end. Luckily, this year it was a little bit easier. It was super fun this year because I was in like a win-win situation because last year's ticket with the Bucks, they were the favorite, so or the underdog against the Chiefs. So the Chiefs have higher valuation, then I got to risk more to win less, essentially. But I have hedged both years. I didn't hedge until the Super Bowl the year before, but I was happy with my decision because like I hedged. I was in Vegas. I had a lot of things were going through my mind. I believed in the Bucks, but like the smart me was like just hedge it for a couple grand. That way we lock in some wins. But what I did for the first one was hedged it on the Chiefs, like a couple thousand on the money line for Chiefs. But then since I really did believe in the Bucks, I did like a $500 parlay, like Bucks money line, and I believe it was the under, and that paid out to almost cover my hedge. So like on that one, I hedged a little bit for the Chiefs side, and then this year, the way the series played out, like I couldn't have asked for a better like how the series went against the Lightning. I didn't hedge it all against Boston. I believe that I believe the Warriors were going to win that. And then how the series unfolded this year. So I did a little bit pre-series between Lightning and Avalanche because like they were so back to back. It was, dude, watching NBA finals, NHL finals, and like the play, like every other night I had a game like that had a massive implications. So I waited till the Warriors won, and then pre-series for the Stanley Cup, I put I want to say like 400 on Lightning to win in 6, and then 400 on Lightning to win in 7. Obviously, I'm risking some there of like, hey, a sweep happens, a 4-1 happens. I didn't think that was going to be an option. And the valuation of those, they were at plus 700, both of those, compared to just the Lightning to win the series at plus 180. So I went, risked it a little bit more. And then when we went up 2-0 is when I put money on the Lightning money line. And then I got a little nervous after that. I think I put like a grand on the money line after we went up 2-0 because like hockey, it's not a real series until you win an away game. And I knew that, but the line gets so inflated because they're up 2-0. So waited till we were up 2-0. Put even more money, like a 1.5. I think in total, I hedged about almost $3,000 this year. And then when we went up 3-1, I hedged again. And so I got like the perfect lines, like super inflated lines for anything. So this year's hedging went a lot better than last year's. But yeah, I usually don't start hedging until that final leg. I will say this. I do prefer when it's like a 1-game freaking series as the last leg rather than a 7-gamer, just because like the intense, like there's so many highs and lows and like every game matters. I enjoyed the last game being the Super Bowl just because that was a lot less stress watching it. It was more stress.
And kind of a blowout.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was a fun one to watch.
Man. So are you profitable like day to day betting? Like, are you good at betting outside of the context of these insane futures? Like, are you making money Monday through Sunday in random NFL?
Yeah. So I would say right now, like I said, it's my off season. So my feet are up right now.
Yeah. You need a DubClub account.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I hit, like, for example, this weekend, if freaking Pedro doesn't opt out of the fight against Sugar Show, I would have hit a 12 grand parlay this weekend. Ended up hitting an 8 grand parlay. Hit like 8 for 8 legs on the UFC. So like I'm a profitable bettor. I'm pretty unit based. Like I said, people see my wild bets and like assume that I'm just some like degenerate that gambles little. No, I have a system on mass. I'm a unit player. Like I said, usually 100 to 250 are my unit sizes. And then really I'm just waiting for things to pick up here in 2 months once football kicks off. But yeah, no, definitely planned on talking with the boys and figuring out how to get a DubClub account set up. I had I would say after the first bet hit, I had about 50 subscribers and I was using the old method, Venmo, PayPal, whatever it was, and then put them on an email list. I'm glad that you guys have recently came out and kind of fixed that model, and it makes it a lot easier for us. So would love to get something set up with y'all.
Love it. Easy. I'm talking too much. Let me hand the mic back over for you for Q&A.
I just like listening to this guy talk. Oh my God, it's just fascinating. I mean, because personally, like I like to throw bets here and there if there's something I'm watching, or there's a big sporting event on or something. But I really enjoy futures, and I'm over. I haven't hit a future yet. I mean my closest one is I had Rams Bills in the Super Bowl this year, and I thought, oh, I was right on the edge. The Bills end up don't blow that 13 seconds, it maybe would have hit, right? I think they would have beaten the Bengals. But it's fascinating to hear you talk about the way that you kind of build these things. But it's crazy that you're profitable, because these things are just it's such insane numbers that you're throwing on these things, but you're only putting a couple bucks, right? So
Exactly.
the ability for you to hedge, and then I don't know how you stay confident through the ups and downs. I mean, as a Warriors fan this year, I was going like this the whole time. Middle of the Celtics series, I was like, we're done. There's no way. So I'm just fascinated to keep. It's just awesome to hear someone that is able to be so profitable on such small bets. It's just incredible. And the fact that, that UFC bet that you just said you hit, where did that come from? I mean, you said UFC, you kind of tinker with UFC, but is it, are you really, is it just something you kind of came up with on the weekend, or you've been thinking about it for weeks in advance?
For the UFC, I'll give a shout out to my buddy, him and I, that we did a podcast, and we the guy I text all the time in regards to betting. He is a big UFC guy. I had my own opinion on a few fights. We definitely, I would say a week before UFC 276, we're texting him a lot back and forth, just chatting about the fights. And then literally we finalized 8 picks that we really love. He had a couple others that he included as well, but I sent it to, my hometown group chat of 25 people, my dad. I was like, hey, take these this weekend. Sure enough, went 8 for 8. Had everyone hyped up. Had one buddy hit a 5K parlay with the picks. Had another friend hit a $1,000. My dad made a couple bucks. So, but yeah, what's funny is we're talking right now, and a childhood memory kind of populated that I hadn't really ever thought about why I look at this. But one thing I learned when I was my dad's a handicapper, just so my dad's sports bet. When I was 10. I knew what a spread was. He was driving me. There was a sports book at a bar. He would drive me, leave me in the car, taking the pink sheet. I saw it old school. So I've known, been around betting forever. One thing that I loved as a kid was the March Madness. Literally, probably my favorite event every year is March Madness. And one thing that I remember vividly, just as we're talking, is one of my dad's friends told me this. I was a big sports bettor. When it comes to making your NCAA tournament picks, one thing that he did was always refer to the preseason rankings, because those rankings are always made based on talent. What do you think about the team just on talent? There's going to be a whole season where all this recency bias is going to happen. But at the end of the day, what did you think about that team before the season started? At the end of the day, talent's going to win. Any college football coach is going to tell you you can't be a good team unless you have the best recruits. So I think that's one thing that helps me when it's these 7-8 months. I made a non-recency bias opinion, top to bottom on the roster, who has the most talent, and then I'm going to bet on that going forward. So I would say that's, now that I think about it, that's something that I still do when it makes them making my brackets and stuff like that. Look at the preseason rankings, understand hey, what do we think about this team going into the season before, stuff happens throughout the season, news, tragic accidents, coaching, whatever it may be. But I think that's definitely helps me, just what did I think about the team before the season? And then whatever happens. As long as they make the playoffs, I feel like I got a fighting chance, once they get there.
Tanner, my last question, and then we should wrap so we can get you hooked up with a DubClub account.
Exactly, so, yeah. Now.
I think we know at least 2 subscribers. Do you talk, I saw as part of the press, Fanduel comes on and pubs your ticket, et cetera, et cetera. Do sports books that you're cashing these monster parlays because they want to publicize the one ticket that does cash because they view parlays as free money? Or is it kind of a love-hate because obviously you're hitting these monster plus money plays? Have you talked to anyone from Fanduel? What's the back and forth there is super interesting.
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both. The way I look at it, a lot of these sports books, they're going towards they want to be content companies as well. Like you look at FanDuel, they partner with McAfee. So I'm giving them content to share. Like a lot of my tweets like that they put of mine are getting tons of favorites, tons of retweets. So they're really shifting gears, I think, these sportsbook to content companies to help drive, just drive the modern people to their site. So I think they love it because, one, you're right. Like there's so little people that are hitting these, and there's gonna be a lot of people that play some, and the odds of them, they're gonna make more money on like people seeing those tweets, seeing those Instagram posts, and like, hey, I can do something like that. And especially for like my bets where it's like everyone's got $8, everyone's got $25. I can make 20, 35 grand. Like that's gonna drive so much like new users to their site. I don't think they care one bit that I've won like north of 60 grand on their account. Like, they're just not going to care just because the content that they're able to have. They're super nice when they reach out, go back and forth DM. They're the ones that actually coordinated my conversation with ESPN a few weeks ago. A rep from the Fanduel media team put me in contact with David Purdom over at ESPN to do the article. So I think they love it. It helps them. I think it's a win-win for us. I get money. They get some content to push out. And then obviously with that, they're going to be able to acquire some new users as well.
Super interesting. Well, Tanner, we won't take any more of your time. I'm sure your press tour is rolling on. But what an interesting conversation and story. Thanks for
always love talking with you guys. Like I said, when my buddy sent this over, I was like, let me look at what DubClub does. So when I started reading, I was like, oh, I need something like this. I know a lot of cappers that are pushing their picks and have a big subscriber list. They could all use something like this. So, if you guys ever want me back on in the future, do let me know if you need some picks. Hopefully, like I said, I have 2 subscribers when my account gets set up. So I'm sure y'all will see the futures I have in place. And then, looking forward to this getting posted. And, if anyone listening, at TFlyPicks is the Twitter at. Feel free to give me a follow. And it's been awesome chatting with y'all.
Thank you so much for coming on, Tanner. Yeah, this has been an absolute blast.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.